Everybody, back to the Danso Pitch podcast. This is Ramy, one of your usual co-hosts of this awesome pod, and this is episode 34. And I'm very excited because on this one we're going to be discussing and giving some introductory basics of something very popular across the financial world, but a lot of people are pretty cloudy on what it exactly is. So we're going to be talking about cryptos and Bitcoin today, and I'm joined by my awesome co-hosts. Passing it over to you, my guys.
Yes, as Ramy had mentioned, welcome guys to the new episode of the Danso Pitch, Intro to Bitcoin. I am one of the co-hosts of the Danso Pitch, Charles Danso, as you guys may know. For those that don't know me, welcome. I'm excited to be with my guys and kind of just discuss a little bit of Bitcoin for those that have been asking, those that have been wanting to just learn more from the wealthy down. It's just not for the wealthy individuals, it's also for us 9 to 5 workers, those that are just trying to get to the bag, diversify our portfolio anyway, so to speak. And the next guy as well will be joining us and describing a little bit more about Bitcoin. Daniel, introduce yourself, please.
What's up, everybody? I'm the next guy. My name is Daniel Goodman, as you know, COO for the Danso Pitch. And yeah, I'm very excited to discuss this topic. It's a hot topic. A lot of people, especially in recent weeks, with Bitcoin surging and just driving investors, all over the place. Really good, like back what Bitcoin is, the history, and just a little bit about the significance behind why Bitcoin was created in the first place. So, gentlemen, let's take it off.
Right. So many people might not even know what Bitcoin or a crypto even is. So Charles, why don't you take us through like a base definition?
Yeah, so Bitcoin, for those on the for those on the video just kind of checking us, is basically digital money. That's exactly what Bitcoin is. It's digital money, a place where you can kind of go and just put your money into a system, and it kind of just allows you to view the transactions that you make on a 10-minute window. Every 10 minutes you see a transaction populated, and that's basically what Bitcoin is. It alleviates the third party individual, like how you kind of have a $20 bill. Let's say you put it in a bank. With Bitcoin, you don't go through a third party entity. It goes directly through a system that we'll discuss a little bit more on that, but it goes through a system where individuals are allowed to kind of pull this software, and where you can purchase and hold your Bitcoin over time. Ramy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that it is a type of digital money, and historically, money has assumed different roles in society, as we all know. Before there was money, it's just a way of assigning value to something so that we can exchange goods and services. And currently, the good thing about it's very speculative what I understand about Bitcoin. Am I correct that the potential for what it could be and it's unregulated is massive. So but the value is what we assign to it, right? And right now the value of a Bitcoin is has been surging over the last couple of decades. Is that not right, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, I think a lot of investors are looking at Bitcoin as a way to hedge against inflation because, as we all know, the Federal Reserve prints money. So, as the Fed Reserve prints money, the dollar gets devalued. So, we look at all these stimulus checks that are being like issued and just the rising costs of what happens in the cost of living, and that's all affected by inflation. So, or that all generates inflation in its own. So, looking at Bitcoin as its own individual asset, um, it's going to help protect, the dollar you invest in Bitcoin. That the value of that can only increase dependent on Bitcoin's value. It's not going to lower. It's the value of it won't lower as the dollar lowers because the Fed keeps printing it because it's not centralized. It's a decentralized asset.
Correct. And kind of just piggybacking off what Daniel kind of said for the audience tuning in. Again, it's money is a belief system. What that basically means is if I'm giving Daniel or Ramy right now, using an example, a $10 bill or a $20 bill, and I say, here, take this $20 bill, take this dead president, that I don't know anything really about outside of him being on a dollar bill, and a little bit I know of what he done over the years of when he was in president to kind of go buy goods and services. So again, and this is why you see various countries have paper money, but they have their presidents, they have their government officials on those papers, and that's what they use to transact. It's a belief system. Every country, every continent uses their belief system of what money is and how it should be exchanged. So here comes Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the digital currency, something that is new to the world. It came out January 3rd, 2009. So obviously it's not that, it's a little bit old, but it's not that old. So again, it's coming into the world. And with that digital currency, it is something that you can store and it can grow over time. This is why a lot of wealthy people, you see like Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Square and Twitter, Jay-Z, Oprah, various people, Ryan Leslie, I think he mentioned that, he wanted to get paid in Bitcoin. You have Spencer Dinwiddie from the Brooklyn Nets. He wants to get compensated through Bitcoin, various individuals of
Smart.
that nature. Yeah, and it's not even just celebrities. It's individuals like ourselves, like even myself. I purchased Bitcoin. I don't know about you, Ramy or Daniel, but I believe you guys are into the Bitcoin world, similar to us. So I think that's something to just kind of note because of the fact of it's considered technically an asset because you put it in and you watch it grow over time, similar to real estate, similar to artwork, expensive artwork. Like I'm sure you guys hear Jay-Z rap about Basquiat artwork like every other time.
Yep, every
He's
Yeah.
song.
yeah, he's making tens of thousands on this collectible items that he's purchasing through these artworks. So Bitcoin is another system that allows you to grow your money, hold your money, most importantly, store it and grow over time. And the most important thing is it can be passed through generation. That's the key right there. Your thoughts, guys, on that?
I like personally, I don't own cryptocurrencies at this time, but I know that you both have said you do. But
Yeah.
I see the value as we've always talked about, and most people in trading know you have to diversify your portfolio. You
Mhm.
always have to have a wide range of assets and be exposed to different markets, industries. So this is very similar in the sense of this is its own type of asset. It's its own special section of your portfolio. It's taxed differently. It comes with different benefits, and one of the ones, as Daniel mentioned, is probably the most important. Is the decentralized aspect of it. There is no owner of these things. We don't even know who the founders of Bitcoin,
We don't.
which
No, biggest
we
mystery.
don't even know. It's
Well,
just
it's
a group of
crazy.
programmers. Like the world knows everything, but somehow they don't know the makers of Bitcoin. So
Correct.
it's the mystery of it, and it's user run, it's user manifested,
Mhm.
and the speculators, people that take gambles on the market going in a certain direction, are just expecting this to be the way of the future.
Mhm.
Just out of the high technology that's involved. So it's good to be exposed to it, whether you personally, I think it's good to be exposed to it just out of that sheer aspect of when inflation happens, which it's cyclical. We all know inflation happens every so often. Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies won't be affected by the value of the dollar, and I think that's probably the most appealing aspect of it, as Daniel said.
Yeah, I think something to note too is, as you kind of just mentioned, Rami, is the IRS actually considers Bitcoin as property and not currency. We'll touch a little bit more on that as we go through this episode, but it's something to note because thinking of it as property, which you can look at it like real estate, it's an asset that can grow over time and something that if it's in demand and basically there's not a lot of it, much like real estate. When you're purchasing a home, you only have so amount of time to get it until someone gets it. A lot of people don't know that there's only 21 million Bitcoin in the world right now. Now, a lot of people may ask themselves how there are only 21 million. Then you hear people making like 70 million, 21 million. People that you can buy through these various, brokerage firms and so forth. The reason being is because you can get Bitcoin as much as a fraction or a penny, if you want to think of it like a currency of Bitcoin. And it circulates through a system The system, I'm going to use some definitions for those that are listening on the call. A system that is controlled by something called Bitcoin miners. Now, Bitcoin miners are the individuals that actually run the software of transactions that's done through Bitcoin. Now, what that basically means is every time you purchase a Bitcoin, anytime, even if you get as much as a fraction of a dollar on Cash App and any of these other various Coinbase, any of these other various platforms, those individuals, their job is to be like, hey, Daniel Ramy is purchasing 1 Bitcoin, or he's deciding to purchase 10 Bitcoins. Okay, so out of that 10 Bitcoins, this is how much is left over for this other individual coming in to kind of get that. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people don't know, Bitcoin miners control 51% of the market of Bitcoin. Now, what does that exactly mean? It means that a lot of times the miners actually get in on the trades. They know exactly what's coming out, what's happening, how much is being circulated to various individuals. Now, this doesn't mean they know your social security and all that. They don't know that. It just means that they know how much is being stored in the market of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, so to speak. They know that Ramy had 70 million worth of Bitcoin and he's been holding it for this amount of time.
Right.
That's what
it's
they're
all
doing.
Public.
Yeah, so it's basically, and this is something that's not controlled through a bank, because a lot of times people don't realize when you have your money in the bank, they make the money on overdraft fees, when they do personal loans, when they're holding it, when you're putting it in your bank. But the thing is, the money that you're putting in, you don't even make as much on the return. That's why you make 0.03% over a 5-year term. Now, how the fuck does that make sense when I'm putting in like 10, 20K? And I'm making only a couple dollars off
of that.
Super trash.
Yeah, exactly. With Bitcoin, you can have as much as possible with your growth because of the fact you're able to store it and it allows to accrue over time. So I think that's something important to note. Daniel, your thoughts of that?
Yeah, and Ramy mentioned that this is public, and it's important to understand that, because the so everything that goes through Bitcoin, it's they go through a blockchain system. So that's pretty much like a large database where all the data is stored in blocks and they chain together, literally. So, and the way this works, to break it down very simply, is these chains are in different locations around the world. So, these very specialized computers run the software from these different locations, and they all are public knowledge. So, every transaction that occurs with a Bitcoin, you will know,
Is
and you
logged.
can see, yeah, it's logged. It's logged like in a general ledger. So,
and you need to be a miner. That's kind of where the miners come in. Those are the people that are operating this blockchain technology, right, Daniel?
Yeah, and they make sure that, there's pretty much the data is valid. So you're not going to ever run into a situation where you have an incorrect amount, a transaction amount, or 1 Bitcoin the value of 1 Bitcoin is not equivalent to the value of all Bitcoin, simply because it's all within the same system, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So,
and that is probably one of the biggest reasons that people favor like cryptocurrencies, is because of the blockchain technology that you just described. It's decentralized, but it's very advanced and it's very secure. Like the way this technology is bouncing around, it's public info, 10-minute span, all this, it's just a very secure system as opposed to the typical banking systems that people are used to nowadays.
yeah, and it's like a new way of, because if you think back to how currency throughout the years have evolved, it we start out with gold, and how people used to transact with gold, carrying around these big, large lump sums of gold that'll break your back, in carts and stuff. And then
precious metals.
Precious metals, silver, bronze, and then we transition to paper currency. And, I think at that point, you start to realize where the dollar devaluation has begun, because when the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, and we started to print money, printing so much money started to devalue the dollar all the way back then. If you look at how much a dollar is worth in 1913 up until now, $1 is the equivalent to around $26 today, which is crazy. So looking at that, and then looking at how much the Fed prints money, especially now that when President Nixon, he removed the gold standard. So now the Fed can just print money endlessly. There's no gold to back the currency. There's nothing aside from just the government printing money and having that money tied to bonds and whatever the sort they do with all the money that they just print out. There's nothing backing it. So with Bitcoin, there that it's backed by the blockchain technology that makes the value of what you own increase equivalent to the value that it's given in the markets. So
yeah, I think just as what Daniel mentioned, it's important to note because as he mentioned, it's important to understand the currencies throughout the years. We first start out with gold. This gold was universal. It started even in Europe and Africa, Asia. Gold was the standard,
times, right?
And then we transition to paper. You can actually use paper currency to exchange for gold as a way of a money system. And then, as he mentioned, on August 15, 1971, then President Nixon was like, no, like the way that we're changing currencies, we're changing paper money for gold and still having to deal with the blockage of holding on to a heavy object as a form of currency. Let's just keep it paper. So digital currency comes into effect. And because of the fact that, again, we said currency is a belief system. So right now, governments around the world believe that because of the fact that they can hedge against the risk, how a country is operating by printing various amounts of money to offset it. But as people understand that's on the call, if you ever took an economics class, what usually happens when there's more of a supply? If there's more supply of something, the demand of it goes down. Why is that? Because it's not as scarce. What scarce basically means is it's not as valuable.
As easily available.
Exactly. When something is easily available, like printed money, that's why usually you see prices go up. So it's great that President now Biden and even Trump, when he was in office, when his administration was giving out stimulus checks. But what's going to happen to goods is that's why when you go to the grocery store, you see meats are increased. You see various foods are increasing. That's not a coincidence. They have to make that back at some way so the country doesn't go broke. The problem with countries like Greece, certain countries and even Africa, the reason why they had went broke is because of the fact of they were giving out all this money, printing out all this money, but there is nothing going up. And when prices were going up, people couldn't afford it. So as a result, a lot of these countries went bankrupt. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen to America because we have so much wealth in this country. I don't see us going broke per se, but recessions happen, different things of that nature happen. And that's not a coincidence. That also deals with currency exchanging. So now with digital currency, do I believe that in the next 20 to 30 years, there will be some form of exchange through Bitcoin? Yes. But right now, I don't believe it. Yes, sir. You have a question?
Yeah, no, what I wanted to say about this is just kind of how you've both tied this into historically what our money is derived from. As you said, we have nothing to value our dollars from. Money is almost like an infinite supply. You could, be on the corner with a cup in your hand and you get dollar bills nowadays. Back in the day, you used to get coins. Now it's dollars. They don't even want your coins. So that's how devalued, money is nowadays. So one of the things I see about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is we're assigning this value to it. People believe in this. You're almost like investing in the technology of it. You're investing in the technological future of currency, where as one day somebody might have laughed if you said we would be exchanging paper to be valued behind gold. Now you might be laughing at the thought of even carrying around bills in your pocket. You're investing in the future of currency. And as you said, Charles, this only came out, it was founded in 2009. Up until 2018, the value of a Bitcoin was about 2,000 or so. It's $30,000 right now in present day. 30,000. And what's to say like this is the cap? you know, it's only what we're willing to pay for it, and it's seeming like the general trend is a steady upward rise. So how do you think that like Bitcoin is going to be implemented across the world in coming, years or decades? How do you guys see that? Where do you see Bitcoin and cryptos taking its place in the world forum going forward?
I do. For me, I'll go first. I do believe that Bitcoin will be invested by a lot of individuals globally, and a lot more people will be putting their net worth into Bitcoin. Now, net worth doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be Bill Gates to have a net worth. Everybody that's listening and watching, everybody has a net worth. It just means putting whatever you're making into Bitcoin, investing into Bitcoin. Now, this could be as much as 1%. This could be as 10%. Some people, even with a certain amount of money, are putting in 95%, I hear. Now, I'm not telling you to go do that. I'm just saying that's just how the belief system now is starting to transition. As I mentioned before, money is a belief system. Any type of currency is a belief system. What that means is this is how we're using it as an exchange of goods and services. So now that you're starting to see it's slowly trending, slowly, because the thing is, again, there's no real regulation from the government. If there's government doesn't back it, there's no real traction. But I do see more of the government, especially I believe now, with more of an innovative government. I'm only speaking for the United States in this scenario, but in the sense of different other countries will start utilizing it once they see that starting to trend. When people are starting to put more money behind it, their money behind it. So that's why I believe that in the next 20 to 30 years, you have to be patient as a Bitcoin investor because, yes, I would say don't sell. I wouldn't sell. The reason why is because, again, that value over the next 5, 10, 20 years is going to quadruple your net worth because of the fact this is something that people are watching. This is something people are investing to. And remember, there's only 21 million right now, so there's scarcity behind it. So if a higher demand for it with less supply, that means the value goes more up because people want this. This is why you hear different investment banks are starting to want to buy people's currency off of them. This is why you're hearing that this guy here on the news is like, I'm paying somebody 70,000 to find my Bitcoin that's worth like 70 million. Some guy threw his Bitcoin away. Some guy forgot his password and he had millions invested in it. Think about that. That's the value of Bitcoin. So I do believe for any investor in Bitcoin thinking about investing in Bitcoin, hold it. Don't sell it. It doesn't matter how, if you're broke, fuck it, be broke. If you have money in Bitcoin, just keep it there because you'll make that money back in the years to come. That's my thoughts. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, let me get a second in here because this is like I see some stats just about Bitcoin. Why do we talk about Bitcoin in terms of all cryptocurrencies? Because simply put, it's the biggest by far in terms of market capitalization. The total value of all cryptocurrencies, all digital currencies out there right now, is as of the end of January of this year was about $900 billion worth
Crazy.
of those. 900 billion. How
Crazy.
much of that is Bitcoin market cap? 563 billion out of that
That's
900
nuts.
is just Bitcoin.
Crazy.
So the next closest is Ethereum at 140. So Bitcoin is really the biggest player in the game, by far. And here's just some more stats at you. Like from 2017 May to end of 2017, this thing went from 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin value. In
Oh,
in end of 2018, it was 3,000. By mid 2019, it was at 10,000. It tripled. And then lastly, from mid 2020, it was at 5,000, and right now it's at 30,000. So these jumps are massive. You could make generational moves if you invest in Bitcoin. Historically, I'm not, pumping the stock, this asset. I'm just saying historically, we have seen this stock triple 10 times over and 6 times over just in the last few years alone.
And I love what you said earlier about you're investing in the future of currency. And I remember looking at Bitcoin back in like 2016 and it's funny you're wearing your UObany hat. I was at UObany at the college. I was looking at it like, man, this is like 800 right now for one Bitcoin. Maybe I should get it, but I don't know. But that's like what, 5 years ago, right? And look what happened 5 years later. 5 years later, Bitcoin is at 30,000 for one Bitcoin, whereas it was like 800 for one 5 years ago. So when you're looking at investments, when you're looking at, as Charles said, whether you're gonna buy and sell, buy and hold, this is definitely a perfect example of buying and holding. Because when you look at the track record, I it, listen, everything goes down. Like it's never gonna stay up. There's always gonna be a retention. There's always gonna be a downpour, a bear market, but it doesn't last. It doesn't last for assets that are very highly valued, and Bitcoin is a very highly valued asset at this point in time. I don't see it going anywhere below where it's at. I don't see it going crazy low. It's only going to go higher. So this is the type of thing where, you know, you may not be able to buy a whole Bitcoin. If you got it like that, great for you. But you can buy shares of a Bitcoin, bits of Bitcoin, and you could also look at other cryptos that are following Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is setting the standard. It's like the Tesla for EV stocks right now. So you look at that, and then you look at what's going to increase as a result of Bitcoin's movements, and you follow that trend, and you might be able to pick up on a new surge that's going to occur, because it's not just going to be Bitcoin. As Ramy said, there's several other cryptos. Ethereum is one. There's a couple out there that are valued in the 900 billion market value of cryptocurrency. So, look at this seriously, because as Ramy mentioned, this is the future of currency. And I do see cryptocurrency really being a standard across the world as a form of exchange, as a united currency value that's going to obviously top the dollar and top other currencies. 30, 40, 50 years down the line, as technology grows, you see how technological we're getting. I would not be surprised cryptocurrency is the main um, medium of exchange, as governments
Yes.
obviously are going to do their shit and regulate it. But for the most part, this is the early stage. This is the ground floor still.
Yep.
Cryptocurrencies is at the ground level. So get in while you can, get in while it's hot. And that's my take on it. And I think in talking about Bitcoin and all of the benefits of investing in this asset, I think it's important also to note the tax implications that
There you go.
will happen, because we, as Charles mentioned earlier, Bitcoin is taxed as a real estate asset. So you don't really you have to file, or use what's called a form 8949 in order to write off your gains and losses on Bitcoin transactions. And it's important to note, most exchanges, most brokers, they probably won't send you a form for whatever Bitcoin transactions you do. So it's important to just keep note of that if you're a heavy Bitcoin investor. But know that you will have to pay taxes. And I know
Well,
Charles can give more on that.
yeah, you pay taxes on Bitcoin if you use it as a currency. So what that basically
Mhm.
means is if you're if you're selling your Bitcoin, there's tax. If you're willing to get paid for Bitcoin, there's tax. If you're willing to make a purchase using Bitcoin, there's tax. So basically, if you're looking to do anything outside of just hold your Bitcoin, there's going to be tax. See, and a lot of people don't realize the government backs banks. This is how the Federal Reserve is like Adam Silver to the NBA owners being basically the government. The NBA owners are the government. The Federal Reserve is Adam Silver, and then so basically what I'm saying that is the Federal Reserve is the spokesperson for the government. So if they're printing money, That is because of the fact they have the aqueous funds to do it, because of the fact through inflation, and the government prints money because they created the money. They put the money on there. There's no coincidence that Trump was like, I'm gonna wait till 2030, or Steve Mnuchin was like, I'm gonna wait till 2030 to put Harriet Tubman on the bill. Biden came, he was like, oh, I'll just put her on right now. That's not a coincidence. The government prints money. That's what they do. They created that money system. They didn't create Bitcoin, so they don't know how to regulate it. That's exactly why the government is like, nah, we're not going to count as a currency because we don't know how to make money off of it. Like, we really don't know how to make money off of it. That's why they count it as property. Because what do you do with real estate? When you buy and sell real estate, you have to pay taxes for it, and you pay a large tax on it. Your capital gains are very large, especially the more money you make on it, on property. A lot of people don't realize that, but a real estate individual should tell you that. That's why it's important to hold your Bitcoin. Don't sell it. And if you're making money off of your Bitcoin, then that's fine. You pay the tax, but you hold it. You just don't use it to exchange for something else, because you're gonna pay taxes regardless of whether you're buy or seller on your Bitcoin. Now, how much are you going to pay in tax? I really don't know. I will consult an accountant professional. Speak to your accountant professional if you have bought or sold your Bitcoin, because they can give more details on that. But as Daniel mentioned, you do have to file if you bought, sold, or getting paid in Bitcoin. For those on the call, Ramy.
Yeah, this is really good info for all the listeners out there. If you learn anything from us, see some value in cryptos, just make sure, or if you've already been, obviously, you need to report last year's taxes in the next few months. It's tax season's approaching. If you have any questions about that, definitely reach out to us. Um, you know, but yeah, I think we've done a good job of giving a base understanding of what is a Bitcoin, how it came about, and where it's headed. Um, if you have any further questions for all the listeners out there, definitely direct them to our Danso Financial page, our website. Um, Charles, anything you want to add before we wrap up here, Daniel?
No, I mean, for me, like what Ramy had mentioned, we just wanted to kind of give a brief intro to Bitcoin, kind of understand how Bitcoin is kind of that currency to look at, not even currency, but that investment to look at over time. As Ramy mentioned, use us. What I mean by that is reach out to us with any questions regarding to this episode or any other episodes we may have in the future. We have a lot coming out, and over time we will share that. But we want you guys to do the investing right. We want you guys to understand how the taxes. The most important thing is how you can save money. I think is the most important thing. So definitely reach out to us with any questions. I will include that in today's episode, our Instagrams. I'll speak to the individuals on the call as well, just to share any information they want to input on there as well. But we'll share our Instagram for you guys. And again, listen to this episode, take the notes as necessary, and reach out to us with questions. Daniel, your thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, you gentlemen pretty much said it all. I'll just leave with this piece that Ramy said earlier. You're investing in the future of currency, so invest wisely, consult the right people, and make sure that you're using your best judgment and your best risk tolerance. Don't over leverage. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Some people went crazy with Bitcoin. Investing like their whole like life savings and
Yeah,
stuff. I
don't
mean,
mortgage. Don't take out a mortgage on your.
yeah, don't
Nah,
don't do all that. Don't put your house up for. Don't go crazy. Like, listen, it's an investment. Like any other investment, you invest what you can afford to lose,
yeah.
because that's the name of the game. So
Yeah,
I'll
you
leave that.
you should have three incomes: one for your bills, one for your savings, and one for your investing. So you use the 10% for the investing into Bitcoin. Do not use, like he said, if you don't have the money, then that's fine. Trust me, Bitcoin's not going anywhere for a while. So just make the money that you can. If you got a little bit of money, instead of buying the bag you don't really need, invest in Bitcoin, man. It grows over time. You can purchase 10 bags. Trust me, if you hold it
Yep.
for the next 3 to 5 years, you just have to be patient. Investing is a long game. What I mean to say is that it's something that it takes years to kind of build real wealth in it. That's even in the stock market, not just with crypto, with any type of investment you're doing, even real estate. It takes a while. So just be patient. I know you guys see the big numbers guys people are making, but a lot of these people are individuals were investing since it first started in 2009. So
Yep.
think about it. So that's important to know. Just take the necessary steps. Reach out to us with questions. Reach out to individuals that know what the hell they're talking about. Don't go on Clubhouse and just listen to these guys that give they invest $1. They're like, oh, this is how you invest in Bitcoin. No. It takes there's a lot of process that goes into it. So that's just important to know, and just invest right, guys. But thank you, Ramy. Take us home. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Charles. Thanks for everybody tuning in. This was episode 34 of the Danso Pitch. We hope that your investments are fruitful, and to hear some feedback on how the episode ever helped you. This episode will be live on anywhere where you consume podcasts via Anchor. Shout outs to all our listeners, and check us
YouTube
out.
exclusive.
Oh, check us out on YouTube. There we go. Sorry, I misspoke. But thank you, everybody. This was episode 34. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.